This week's episode is brought to you in partnership with Zero Procure, who are here to make procurement simple. Zero Procure harnesses a network of specialists to ensure that businesses are working with the right suppliers at the right price. Hospitality Meets is delighted to partner with the Zero Procure team and their network to help keep this podcast accessible and free to listen to. Please get in touch with them for a chat. Just click on their link in the show notes or visit their site at zeroprocure.com/podcast. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Raymond Blanc, chef patron at Le Manoir au 4 Saisons and all-round hospitality icon. Coming up on today's show, Raymond explores one of life's great mysteries.
We know how to go to the moon, yet we don't know what's happening in our soufflés.
Phil hands out a whopper of a compliment. You know, extraordinary people generally have extraordinary stories. Your story has not disappointed. And Raymond reveals a huge, life-changing moment.
That moment was the most important moment of my life.
All that and so much more as we chat through Raymond's unbelievable story so far. I can't tell you how enjoyable it was to interview Raymond, and something of a bit of a personal dream, but there's no doubt that he has unrivaled energy and passion for hospitality, and that comes through from start to finish in our chat. Not only that, there's some cracking lessons for everyone in here, no matter what stage you're at in your own journey, and he gives us all manner of wonderful anecdotes from his life. A huge thank you to him for being so free with his time. Please don't forget to subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening. Enjoy. And a huge Hospitality Meets welcome to, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this, Raymond Blanc. Welcome to the show.
Merci, Phil.
How are you?
Very well. There's a nice coat of snow outside. Everyone is working from home. Nobody dares to drive.
Yeah, well, it's train strikes everywhere as well.
And train strikes. Okay, so you have to live through all these little disturbances.
Yeah.
So what? It's all okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well,
the Manoir is full on. Okay, we're absolutely fully booked.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Yeah,
I just
that's
met
good to hear.
a couple of guests which really loved it, enjoyed it. And what I like about the Manoir is about its inclusivity. It's not a luxury which is exclusive.
Yep.
It's a luxury which is totally inclusive. And by doing so, by making that shows, I can tap into two types of guests. The very wealthy, who will come once a month, and the guests, like my papa, who could come once a year, or once in a lifetime, and they would save their money and come here. When you tap into two markets, actually you're doing well.
You're winning.
And those values are powerful. And if you want to know, I will talk about where do those values come from.
Yeah, no, I am absolutely sure we'll get into that. I have been lucky enough to experience Le Manoir, and I definitely fall into the category of saving up for the experience. And I had a chat earlier on with Benoit actually around the pastry element, and I told him something that I will always remember. One of the happiest days of my wife's life was here, because she said, finally, I've come to somewhere who knows how to balance desserts. Don't make them too sweet. They're just, beautiful.
Well, Benoit, about sweetness, Benoit obviously knows me very well, because very much it's true that dessert sugar is a catalyst of flavor, but it can also kill food.
Yeah.
By its sweetness. Okay, so, and in the past, the British customers, the British guests, had a palate which was very sugary, whereas now we are moving towards far less sugar, and desserts, of course, have got all of that freshness. And so it's true as well with salt, less sugar. So the food is cleaner, fresher, truer, more authentic, more beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So less is often more.
Yeah. So, I've just gone straight in and said, welcome to the show, but we haven't explained who you are. For the three people out there who might not know who you are, please tell the world who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, first, I'm a Frenchman, and you can hear it through the accent. My name is Raymond Blanc, and I'm the chef patron of Le Manoir and founder of the Manoir. And I'm preparing also its own future, because we pass by, we fireflies. In one's life, one tries to leave something very beautiful behind you. Not for your egos, not for any form of legacy. It's for excellence.
Right.
Creating excellence. That's what I've done all my life. And obviously, I'm also a chef patron of Brasserie Blanc. which is a group of brasseries and pubs, which I'm very proud of. And there are 40 of them.
I was going to ask you how many you have now.
Yes. Yeah. And beyond that, sure, there's a few other interests. Okay, I'm the main consultant for Arsenal Football Club. I didn't bring my my scarf.
I didn't know that. Right.
And chef as well. That means we have the best restaurant in 670 guests.
Right.
All member clubs, which is been a fantastic relationship. Equally, I work for Eurostar for the last 10 years as well. 17 years Arsenal.
You're an Arsenal fan then?
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, right, okay.
Very much so, yes. My sons are Manchester United, okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Then Eurostar for about 10 years. It's a great joy. I love Eurostar because the connection from one country to another, one city to another, enrichment of culture, of art, of music, of language, of culture.
Love that, yeah.
Okay, and I love Cisadis, and we have 3 stars on the SRA, Sustainable Restaurant Association, of which I'm the president.
Right. So you're not really that busy then?
No, just taking it easy. And obviously I'm working with an extraordinary teams, both in Barcelona and the Manoir season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't realize you did all these extra things. I thought I knew what I was talking about, but there we are. But well, it'll please my business partner, who's also a Frenchman and also an Arsenal fan, that you're an Arsenal fan. So there we are. Well, I mean, there's a lot to get into today. You've had a hell of a journey so far in hospitality, I think that's fair to say. So take us all the way back to the beginning of your career, life, whatever it was the first kind of, how did the spark for hospitality kind of enter you?
I will start by home, my family.
Yeah.
Because they are the cornerstones of practically all of my values. And values, I'm talking about people's values, training, passing on your knowledge to young people, ethics. My mom was all about organic values, purity, authenticity of the food, provenance of the food. It has to be close to home.
Yeah.
Because it was close, and of course she bred into me seasonality, seasons. Everything we do here is driven by seasons. That's why I gave my first business where we won a 2-star Michelin, a tiny little place between a ladies' underwear and Oxfam. So nothing glamorous. Okay, with red and white tablecloths, 6 or 7 hand, a cheap Prince of Paris on the wall. I cut my cockerel and I painted the feathers bleu, blanc, rouge. So you knew you entered a French restaurant.
Right.
It was way back in 1977. And the kitchen was no bigger than that little room we in.
Right.
Okay, with a 1920 oven with no bottom. Okay. And Kenwood, I remember 1950. Right. Okay. So that's how it's all started. Okay.
Humble beginnings.
Very humbly, but that's why we won our first star Michelin the same year. And 2 years after, in 81, 2-star Michelin.
Yeah.
And 1920 in Gomio and all the world guards. So it was really an extra, but it started home in my family. What do I mean by that? I come from a working class background and my papa we had very little money. We had 5 kids. And you had to feed these 5 kids. First, my papa built his own house, okay, with his own hands.
Right.
It took him 7 years in a beautiful house. 7 years. He would finish, at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock at the factory. And all night he would work up to 1 o'clock in the morning, building his house.
My life.
So he gave me what I received from him is morality and work ethics.
Yeah.
Work ethics. Work hard, you're more likely to achieve something. Then around his house, he built a huge garden because the land was inexpensive. It was in a poor part of France, between the rugged Jura mountains and Burgundy. Okay. So it's a wine region, it's a food region, big forest when I used to hunt and gather the wild mushrooms. My father had given me a map where all these mushrooms, wild asparagus, berries would be.
Right.
So I had a deep understanding of food at a very early age.
Yep.
But he built a huge garden about half the size of Le Manoir 4 Saisons, which is a big garden.
That's a big garden,
to feed a family. of 7. We are almost self-sufficient with all pulses, grain, vegetables, herbs that my mother would cook, and preserve, etc. So I learned so much, and from the age of 7, I helped my father to look after the garden.
Right.
And that means first turning the soil, that he would do that because I was too small to do it, okay?
Yeah.
That means hoeing between the row, removing the grass which seems to grow out of this bloody garden, so to speak, because as a kid, it was really, whilst my friends were playing football, I was working at least 3 hours a day in a garden.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was not a love affair to start with.
Yeah.
But
It's difficult to get a love affair at 7 years old.
Every knowledge about seasonality, about when to plant the seeds, what seed, what vegetables, what variety of vegetables. For example, potato. My mom would never tell me, Raymond, get me some potato. Of course not. She would tell me, get me some binges. And I knew it was puree. Get me some Maris pepper. I knew it was French fries. Right. Get me some rat. I knew it was sauté potatoes, etc., etc. Every salad had a variety, okay, and a culinary use for it.
Yeah.
So from growing to harvest, I had really a deep understanding of food at a very early age. And also what my mom taught me, okay, that food is an act of love. I mean, when that food was gathered and preserved, because a lot of it we would eat, and the rest of it would be preserved, and I would pod these tons of peas and top and tails, these ton of beans that my mum would preserve into jars. And the most beautiful sight I remember, and smells, was in the cellar. I would go in the cellar, and there was one single bulb, very low voltage, which diffused a yellow light, not to germinate the potatoes, which were resting off the ground. Okay, and you would have everything, carrots, you would have the turnips, you could have the chicory, you would have all the vegetables, potatoes, beetroots, and so on, all covered with a sack of jute, very rough material to prevent it from the light. Right. And then you have a big barrel that would keep dripping. And it was the best still life. I wish I had been a painter. And this huge cellar, which had the footprint of the house, would feed the whole family for about 9 to 10 months of the year.
Wow.
So I have a deep, and it's all about seasonality,
yeah, sure.
about purity of produce. So, and of course, my mom taught me that food is an act of love, that the table is a most powerful medium on which to share a moment with one's family, one's loved one, one's friends, and drink and be merry and have an argument sometimes. But the food is such an important part of it. And all these values, I brought them at Le Manoir 4 Saisons and at Brasserie Blanc as well. But Manoir is, that means it's all organic. We have 12 gardens.
12?
Okay, 12 gardens, yes.
Wow.
We've got water garden, we have a Japanese tea house garden. Some of these gardens are inspired by my culture, some others from other cultures I've traveled into, which have enriched me. I don't feel confused. I know who I am. I'm 120% of a Frenchman, and the 100% is who I am. That's what my family, my village, and the values I was given, and the rest is what my wonderful English friends have given me, okay, and travels mean, but I'm not confused. I know who I am. And when I travel, whether it is Southeast Asia or Japan or China, I will always bring something, not to confuse my culture, but to enrich it, like a rich tapestry.
Yeah.
And that's what I brought in. That's why there's so much creative force everywhere. And yes, and there are 12 gardens, and there will be 7 more in the next 2 years. And there will be a bee village that we are starting now. Okay, so imagine after the planet of the Little Prince cut in half, the rockery, the lavender, the black sage, all these things, and then these houses, which should be real houses. So the children will come, we will teach the kids, the adults will telling a story, always telling a story.
Yeah.
Okay. So then a bee village, we're doing chicken houses, which should be gypsy houses. But it's not just romantic values. It's about also learning about experiences, growing food. So the chicken will give the nitrogen, into the soil. They pick up aphids from the trees. Okay, and we will change it. Of course, the hens will give beautiful eggs for our guests every morning, fresh, totally, of course, super organic.
Yeah.
And plus the gypsy houses can be moved because the chicken can create lots of damage, move to another place in the orchard, etc. So everything. So then there will be a vineyard that we are building as well. An extraordinary story, which I don't have time. Yeah. Totally organic. Will be the first organic vineyard in Great Britain with organic vines.
Right.
And only the first one has been agreed in Champagne.
Right.
And my partners are 100 Hill, just next door, a local amazing sparkling wine. I was about to say champagne, but you cannot call it champagne.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, but amazing sparkling wine, amazing skills, and they will help us to vinify the wine, etc. So, and then another partner with an extraordinary scientist and vigneron. They're two brothers and a son, and they are the first one to create rootstock to fight global warming. And all the viruses and insects who are coming in the vineyards and the vegetables or the orchard. And they've now worked out with the Institute of Vin de France to create this rootstock, which is absolutely, resistant to all these diseases. Totally organically, not through genetically modified processes, but through crossbreeding programs. Yeah. It's exciting and will be the first to have such a vine.
Right. That's amazing.
So it's always creating something beautiful. Around it, of course, I will put muscat, red muscat of Alsace for table wines. And around it, there will be lavender. And that's going to be such a beautiful. In the middle of it, there will be guests who will be able to stay in the vineyard, enjoy a glass of wine or fruit juice, an apple juice from our own orchard. So it's always creating something for others. It's never for you. Yeah. It's not about you. It's about our guests, about providing our guests the very best experience. So as other gardens, there will be a proper farm, a 3-acre vegetable garden, which will grow all the main crops. There will be also refrigeration rooms as well to keep these vegetables. We can keep them longer. We can lengthen the seasons. Okay, so there will be an art garden, a raw cookery school, an art school, a medicinal herb garden. We're redoing completely our culinary herb garden as well. So it's really exciting, this palette of new experiences that our guests will have. And all that comes from my home, from my family, from my Maman Blanc, who has given me so much in terms of value, in terms of people, creating an environment which is conducive to joy, to celebration, to food. And our industry is the very best. I don't know any other industry which is as rich, has got so many layers. Because look, if you're a young man, like I was, I don't have a single degree. I failed miserably my A-levels, but I was not really interested.
Yeah.
Okay. And yet I'm the chef patron of a multi-million pound business. We have 1,300 employees in Brasserie Blanc, 250 at Le Manoir 4 Saisons.
Yeah.
And in each of these business, as a young person, my God, what an opportunity to come and join us.
Totally. I could not agree more.
To come and join us, because in this industry, you learn everything. You learn gardening, you learn the food, the soil science, environment, provenance. You learn about growing food. You learn how to cook the food. You learn trainings, HR, PR, marketing. You can be a great maintenance person, a great sommelier, a fantastic front of house manager, a general manager. Those are all, and it's only a few palettes.
Yeah.
Of where our industry is so rich and so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, look at your own, what you've got your head in at the moment in terms of you have hotel, you have restaurants, you have stadia catering, you have trains. That's 4 arms to the industry that are, it doesn't even scratch the surface as to what else can be done in the industry. It's so wonderful to sit here and listen to you talk about it, because I don't think I've sat in front of anybody who's more passionate about it. And it's great to see as well that even though Le Manoir on the face of it has had so much success and has such a wonderful reputation, is that you're not sitting on your hands. You're not resting on what it is now. You're still focused on what it can yet become.
It's all about tomorrow. It's not about yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday is done. It's about tomorrow. It's just, and you prepare tomorrow 10 years ahead. And what I mean is constantly, if you have a dish, for example, and maybe that's a good analogy, and it's a beautiful dish, but if you stop looking at it with curiosity, that dish will be dead in no time.
Yeah.
Equally, I think luxury is at large changing. So is our industry. So I'm going to briefly talk about why luxury is changing. This post-pandemic effect has been mega important. In so much, on one hand, we've got a lot of young people who have a lot of fragility. Okay.
Yeah.
And many people condemn these young people. Oh, they're lazy. No, I disagree with that. It's up to us to change our industry completely.
Yeah.
By creating an environment which is conducive to creativity, support, training, proper. We have 2 days induction here, 2 days.
Right.
Where they go in every department. Because if you start to go, for example, in housekeeping, you start understanding that your headache is no worse than their migraine, and you start respecting what other people do. So we do a lot of cross-training programs as well. Okay, so you understand that vision that are brought in Le Manoir now is owned not just by me, it's owned by everyone.
Yeah.
And that is something magnificent. It's humbling even when I see a young person, just show the guest, how he's growing his food, or how he's cooking that dish, or it's humbling the way everyone owns that vision, is part of his intelligence, his emotions, his value completely. It's exciting. And that's what I love the most to look at, see these young people growing, and it's up to us to change this environment. For too long, our industry, and that goes back to hundreds of years, we have not changed our industry. We had that big pool of staff which kept replenishing, and we grab them and dispose of them. Now we have to change.
Yeah.
And it was okay to work, 48 hours, then you did another 10 hours or 20 hours extra. It was all right. Over. Now we need to reinvent our industry completely through training, proper management, which contain emotional intelligence, really where managers are trained emotionally to really understand young people, to grow them, to make them independent, confident, so there is success. You never train by fear.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Do you know the thing about that is that I had a conversation recently with a lovely lady called Varian Palmer, and she had a quote which she uses quite simply, which is the standard that you accept is the standard that you walk past.
Yeah.
And that's very much
to
do with the kind of the luxury mindset, and that's all about, if you're walking past a napkin that's on the floor and you choose to walk past it, you would pick that up normally. Otherwise, you accept that that's the standard you want. We need to apply the same mindset to how we deal with people and how we look after people.
But it's also, it goes beyond that. We have to look as well. It's okay, for example, we need to condemn as soon as we possibly can. It's going to take some time, I understand.
Yeah.
Also, split shifts is cruel.
Yeah.
How can you come at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock, work until 3, have a 2 or 3 hour break? What do you do with it?
Yeah.
And then come back home at 12 o'clock, do the second part of the service. We need to stop that. We need to reinvent our industry completely.
Yeah.
Okay, completely. We need to as well to bring down the number of hours that people do and come to eventually to 4 days a week. And that will happen, and very fast, because we are completely in a different sphere than Europe. Europe is already there.
Right.
We are liberal countries, so effectively we act with all this permissive approach to our industry, and it's over. And it's up to us to reinvent it completely.
Yeah.
On all levels, training, support, number of hours, a number of days off, and you will see why on earth, when you know the extraordinary beauty and ability for anyone to come to this industry with not a single degree and come out, a hugely successful, wealthy person.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah. You have the opportunity, you can come in with zero qualifications.
Yeah, exactly.
And yet you can still walk away having huge career success, huge monetary success.
And travel, not only that, but you also can travel all over the world. When you've gone from a young apprentice or commis and you move on through demi-chef de partie, demi-chef, chef de partie, junior sous-chef, and after 4 years training, you are reaching the position of senior sous-chef or chef. You can travel all across the world.
Yeah.
And you are safe. Your life is safe.
Yes, totally.
As well. And you have, and I think industry is wonderful as what it can offer to young people. But we have committed some serious mistakes. And if you look at the past, and it's important to look at the past to understand where we need to go.
Yep.
You remember when we used to somehow glorify violence, and you would see many of these programs completely humiliating a young person in front of 10 million audience of television.
Yeah, no, we're picking up the pieces of that.
And you would have 10 million morons watching this program thinking it's great.
Yeah.
It's over. These programs, all that. And I think it's up to us, to reinvent the industry completely. And we will. And I know many chefs and hoteliers, etc., are joining this force, this energy, which is going to really reinvent completely our industry. But it's really interesting, for example, why? Why on earth, when you have 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 TV programs a day on food and cooking programs, and yet we cannot find young people coming to industry? Yeah. It's because of us. And we're going to change that. We're going to fix it, make it such an extraordinary industry that everyone, every parent, every mom will want to send their kids to our place. Yes. I know, and we will succeed.
Yes, I'd almost want to high five you. It's because it's it takes one person to realize, it takes everyone else to come to the party. That's the thing, but it can be done. There's no point in us moving forward unless we believe that it can be done.
Also, having said that, still there is a dilemma. Okay, because to succeed, you don't mistake it. You need to work hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now, because hours are going to be more and more limited, if you are imposed, 7 or 8 hours a day, can you learn enough in that much of time? Okay, I say yes, you can. Yeah. But the problem is, what about the young businesses who start and they're only 4 in the kitchen? I'm sorry, but you have to work hard and long hours. Yeah. So that's a dilemma. Okay, how are we going to do? So young businesses who start when you establish like us. Okay, do you understand? You have all your there's a structure of organization, structure, etc. Yeah. Okay, and it took many years. When I started, I was working, and my chefs, and I must say it, 16 hours a day. We were, but that was a different time. Now we're moving into a different time where we're so much aware, of mental breakdown, the fragility of. So there's but in the past that didn't exist. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. It's about balance, right? And
we need to create that balance.
We can't revolutionize overnight.
No.
But you have to make a step and keep making
many
more
steps.
And
fast and plan them. Yeah. Don't say it, plan it. this year I want to achieve that, next year I want to achieve that, and plan ahead as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just talk, and then nothing change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, and we need to change as well because we're shortage of staff.
Yeah.
And you have to ask, why do you have a shortage of staff? Well, because industry is exciting, but the training inside is still too low. Okay. And the hours too long. Okay. So it's up to us to really change that. And we are changing it. More flexible hours as well, for many women would want to join, and other young people would love to join our industry, but we've got to be made much more flexible, much more approachable.
Yeah.
And already we see it at Le Manoir. Oh my God, we've got so many young people coming 3 hours. Housekeeping now, we are now reaching in most of our departments about 40, 42 hours a week. Still the kitchenware, but within a year we'll get where we want to be.
Brilliant. Yeah. But I think the thing with that is that, it's the easy option is to hire somebody who can work the hours that you desire them to work. But actually the more difficult thing to do is to be flexible to the individual and make your business work around it. But it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done and can't be done. It's just we have to change your thinking.
It's already done here from a number of years.
Yeah.
That's what's really, really exciting. I think our industry and luxury also will have to change. Luxury in the past was all about gold, about the outside. Luxury was polluting, luxury was excessive, luxury didn't care.
Yeah.
Now luxury, whatever luxury, whether it is a beautiful watch, a beautiful dress, cashmere jacket, whatever it is, or a beautiful restaurant, all luxury sector will change. And that does include all cars, that does include every single bit of, whether it is your sweater, your shirt, where is it made, what is it made of, is it sweatshops, etc., etc. And the same for cars. For example, you take Mercedes now. Before there was no recycling, whereas now we're investing into seriously billions of pounds into recycling things. 95% of the Mercedes, for example, are recycled.
Yeah. Before
you throw it away, didn't care.
Yeah.
So the throwaway approach to it was now there's a constant, so luxury is changing. Luxury as well in a hotel is not the gold or the heavy trappings and the ancestors looking at you in a disapproving manner. It is about elegance, a quiet elegance, about purity of the food you are giving, local values, and also experiences. That's why those gardens are here. We want to give to our guests the most extraordinary experiences, which are real, which are exciting.
Yeah.
And of course, when it's given with love, and you see it on any one of these young people looking after you, wow, they own it.
Yeah.
And to give to that total stranger the best moment of their life is something really exciting.
Yeah.
And you see it in front of you, and they tell you. So industry, yes, I look at our industry and I look at its future, and I see an extraordinarily wonderful future.
Yeah. I'm eminently, and I could talk to you about this kind of stuff all day, but I'm eminently aware of the fact that we've kind of come away from your story a little bit, in the sense that I'd still like to explore how you made that transition from gaining all of your values from your parents in terms of the things that were important to you, to then becoming a chef.
Yeah.
Or how did that happen? How did that process come into play?
Well, from home, obviously, my mom and my papa and my village, my own culture. I live in a little village, zone, 600 people, lots of cows, because our gastronomy is based on milk, on cheese, on as well pig. We have saucisses de morteau, the small. So it's a very rural environment, unsophisticated. So that's big forest, which I would somehow hunt and gather. I was rich at the age of 10 years of age, because I would give some to my mom, and the rest I would sell to on the street, or the chefs actually gave you the best money for your produce, whether it is wild asparagus, berries, wild mushrooms, etc. etc.
Yeah.
So I have a deep understanding of seasonality.
You're
For
entrepreneurial.
example, we change our menu
well.
here every month. So that's come from my home, from how I was brought up. Okay. So then after, I should have been a chef from the age of 6, but I didn't think about it. Okay. No, because my grandmother was a farmer, so a keeper of a castle. So I'd learned to make wine. I'd seen, I lived it. You understand?
Yeah.
So I had a deep understanding at a very early age, okay, of from seeds to grow a beautiful vegetable or beautiful fruit. It is grown because I was part of the process. So I had all that knowledge, but I never thought of becoming a chef. I don't know why.
Really?
I'm absolutely
I find
memorized.
that incredible. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then I waited, and then I was directed to be a draftsman or an architect, but unfortunately, I hated squares, I hated rectangles, I hated anything so geometrical, and I loved anything asymmetric, which had curves and so on. And equally, I was not mathematical, I was not, a science-led person. So I stopped, and I stopped because I wanted to find my passion. And I would advise every young person or older person, please find your passion.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
It totally
because
is.
when you find it, it leads you through some extraordinary roads, and self-discovery and beauty and emotions like you will give to others, and you will have in yourself, which are fantastic. So it's worth to look for that curiosity. And I looked for that curiosity. I became a nurse. Then I saw about 10 young people dying of leukemia in front of me in a year, and I couldn't deal with it. It was too much.
Right.
So, but the idea of becoming a nurse is interesting. It's about giving to other people.
It's very relatable to hospitality.
Tells you a hell of a lot, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, but I couldn't deal with the impact of these kids, which were hoping to live and they would die in a hospital.
It takes a
bed.
very special person,
So
doesn't it?
then I stopped as well. Then I went in a factory, and that was the most dehumanizing moment of my life, where you are nobody. You enter, you how do you call that? You
clock in.
You clock in.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you. You do the same movement every moment of these 8 hours you're going to work, and you go crazy. And you move out less. You live in a shadow. Nobody knows your name, what you do. You have and that I really got scared. And then I got my break. I was lucky. And
right.
I was lucky. I saw this restaurant in the middle of my city in a full August. A beautiful evening as well. A beautiful terrace in the middle of my home city, Besançon. And I saw this guests, holding hands, and so on. And the waiters with a purple jacket and the silver epaulette serving the guests, flambeing the pancakes, the maître d'hôtel with their black tie. It was like a ballet, just the maître d'hôtel flambeing, carving the cheese or a fish. Oh my God. I fell in love so strongly, so immediately with food. And I said, I want to be the chef who makes this beautiful food.
Right.
Not the waiter, the chef,
right.
The creator
very
of this
clear
food.
In your head.
It was suddenly, that moment was the most important moment of my life.
Right. Because
it was so obvious, immediate, powerful. I was that chef. So the day after I made an interview with the boss, was an older man. It was a grey suit, grey eyes, grey hair, everything grey. And I told him I would be the best chef in the world.
Right, okay. Well, I mean,
for about 1 hour.
That's a hell of a vision.
So he listened to me. So it's a good, important vision.
Yeah.
He listened to me and he looked at me and said, okay, I'll give you a job, Raymond. I'll give you cleaning department. I say, yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Right.
We got to start somewhere.
Absolutely, yes.
So,
and cleaning is very important.
I became the best cleaner in no time, and I would do these big mirrors. It was an 18th century building. These big mirrors, I would go up onto my ladder, okay, and I would take my vinegar and my pepper and shine those mirrors until there was not a single smear. It was like Versailles, the toilets, everything was gleaming. Then I became washing up. I nearly lost my hands because there was no chemicals. You had no gloves.
All right.
Remember, I'm an old boy, you know. We're talking about here 60s,
right,
70s.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So then I was to the glass department, and I love my glasses because they were so fragile. They were all hand blown. They were, and every Frenchman would eat at least 4 dishes with 4 different ones.
Right.
At lunch, never mind at dinner, okay? And they were beautiful, and I learned. I even bought my linen cloth from my grandmother, okay? I just, and clean my, caress my glasses. And in no time, I cut down the breakage by half.
Right.
And my sommelier loved me because the glasses were beautiful. I didn't have to check them up. Everyone was happy around me. And of course, what we couldn't do now, and I must say what I did do, and out of curiosity, I tasted about every single one, okay, left in the bottle or on the bottom of the glass, which is not very healthy. But I wanted to know, because my father would only drink a local one. So suddenly I would taste it. Exactly. Not to get drunk, because a drunk chef doesn't go very far, you know, in life. Okay. And I tasted, and I knew in 6 months, I knew all my Pinot Noir from my Gamay, my Cabernet Sauvignon from my Syrah from my Mourvèdre, etc. And meanwhile, I would be reading all night and cooking for my friend. Reading about what? About food science, food history, food love, food nutrition. So basically I would read all the top classics of the great chefs like Carême, like Escoffier, etc. All these great chefs. I would read their histories, what they were doing at the time. So I didn't sleep really. And then at 2 o'clock I would cook for my friends until 4. Whatever. I had a life so full. Of course, you are young, but I was in love with food. Right. I was in love, not just food. Oh, my little belly, all I earn is for you. That's important. But I was in love with food and creating an environment around food where you feel comfortable, you feel well, about serving food, about, connecting with other people because you're a team. And actually, after the glass experience, and of course, everyone loved me. The boss loved me because I cut down the breakage by half. Okay, the sommelier loved me. Okay, etc., because they were very clean. And so basically I was surrounded with people who were appreciating me as a cleaner, as a glass washer up. Yeah. And I became a waiter. And I loved it too.
Right.
Because it's in my nature. Remember, once I was a nurse, I love the people. I love people.
Yeah.
Okay. As a waiter, and I wear that Bordeaux jacket, which I saw first 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and with that silver epaulette, and I was a commis de rang, okay, and I had a marvelous teacher, Jean, I still remember him. He was a brilliant maître d'hôtel who liked me, who looked after me, who supported me, and a mentor was important.
For sure, yeah.
And then I realized, effectively, big realization, that big one, what makes success in a business, create a successful business, is an ensemble of people, and each of them believe, whether they're washer up, cleaner, front of house, waiter, or chefs, they all believe the same, that they love what they do and they're good at it.
Yeah.
And I realized that I remember it was so clear. Suddenly, oh my God. So to create a business, you need to be each of us, good at what you're doing, the best at what you're doing, and also work with the members of the team. Big revelation for me.
Right. And how old would you have been at this point?
I was about 18.
Oh, wow. So still very young then. Like in my head, I was thinking mid-20s
19, because I was then military service after.
Yeah.
And I left to England. But then after everything went wrong,
Okay.
So I learned to carve, I learned to flambe, and I was always the best, but took too long. But always the guests were absolutely the flambe, the crêpe Suzette, carving the langoustine or the lobster, it was fantastic.
That's very good, Raymond, but there's 4 other tables that need to be done.
Exactly. But then I could come closer to the kitchen, and this kitchen were hard, and the chef was a giant, with a mustache, big mustache, dark eyes, big hands. And I saw him, thumping down a young commie, frightening personality.
Right.
And scary, and really scary. But I wanted to make a friend of him, so I started to talk to him and taste the sauces, and I could taste the sauces. Chef, what about a bit of sabayon to lighten that sauce, or could we replace half of the cream with a bit of milk? Or what about a bit of smoked paprika, a bit of lime juice here?
Right.
And I realized actually
just waiting for him to hit you over the head with a leek or
there was
something.
no discussion, and at one stage he just took a cup upon and slammed it in my face.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was in hospital, broken jaw, and I lost my job. On that day, I lost my jaw, and I was then exiled to Great Britain. So I didn't come like Napoleon,
Right.
on a white horse.
That's brilliant. I had visions of how the move to Britain happened. That's not the vision I had at all. But, ultimately, France's loss has absolutely been our gain for sure. But yeah, so
I didn't come like Napoleon on a white horse.
Yeah.
All conquering. I came here with my little suitcase, very humbly.
What do I do now?
In this country.
Yeah.
And the boss very kindly, because he came to see me after, said, look, chef, he put a roof over my head. He's a creative power. I know he's not always a nice man, but he's everything to his house. And you tell him he cannot cook. So it's not my intention, but I wanted to make a friend, and I made an enemy.
Because you were curious, right? And then,
absolutely, yes. Okay, so, but I saw you from cleaning to wash up, to glass washer up, to waiting, and you will go very far, and I'm going to help you. So that's why he found me a place in Great Britain. So I was also exiled, in France, from France to go in Great Britain.
Yeah, you can't come back here.
No, exactly, yes.
But we have something for you over there.
He found me a place, actually, where I started as a chef de rang, because by the time I'd graduated, and I was working as a waiter, effectively, in England, at the Rose Revived. That's where I started.
Right.
Too close to Whitney, not far away from here, actually. I go there occasionally.
Yeah.
And that's what started. And it was a frightening experience, because England was in a throw of, there was no food culture. The food was horrendous. It was the 70s, 72 when I arrived.
Okay, right.
And it was really frightening. I remember the first time I took a ferry to discover British gastronomy, and I took an English ferry, and I saw these fish and chips which arrived, and I could smell it 3 meters away. So there was so much vinegar, and the fish was actually rectangular, and I've never seen a rectangular fish in my life, because we fished it. And we let the bone, and the fish had a tail, it had a head, but that one was rectangular. I've never seen that in my life.
Yeah.
No, truly. And the chips were grey and horrible. Oh, I said, my God, Raymond, where are you going? Yeah. It was really a frightening moment. And of course, then I first saw a little restaurant which was, which I thought it was all red, so I thought it was a little bistro, and I entered. It was a plastic tomato on the top of it, and everything was microwaved. Everything was
right.
So it was really the first part of England was really quite of a shock, because England had lost completely its food culture.
Did you see an opportunity at that point
in
terms of like, if this is the bar, which is very, very low, I already have probably more passion than the whole of the UK food scene in my body alone. I have an opportunity to
that happened.
Elevate.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually it happened when the chef fell ill, and the chef was everything was cooked in advance. Everything was poor quality. Everything. So the chef fell ill, and then he was taken out. So the owner asked, "Can somebody cook here?" I said, "I can."
Right.
And I started. And I remember because when I arrived in the kitchen, I bought the tallest hat I could find because I had seen chefs wearing this
with the
big hat, and I put a pencil into it because I saw it as well.
Right.
I could barely enter the kitchen, and actually my signature is still that now. Look at my signature.
Yeah.
So that's my hat.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it was 70s. That means I had long hair. Now I lose my hair. I'm still smiling.
Fantastic.
So it's completely childlike, but
For context, Raymond's just drawn me a picture. So maybe I'll take a picture of that and I'll share that.
And from then on, I remember because my English was very poor, so I bought a book of Constance Fry.
Right,
who was a great English writer, and she was scientifically interested in the denaturation of food and so on. And she was a historian at the same time, and I read her book. So in that book, gave me everything. I learned lots of about British history, British culture, British food science, a little bit. Okay. And I learned, of course, about British food overall. So it was a big moment. And it took me basically a year to work. Meanwhile, I was cooking. In no time, we were on a Michelin in a year. Okay, in just 1 year. And that's when I decided I'm going to open. I went to Germany after for a while because I wanted to learn the language. I had done 8 years of German in first language. And then I worked a little bistro in La Sorbonne, in Bleu, Blanc, Rouge in Oxford for 2 years. I became chef and front of house person, so I was doing both at the same time. Don't ask me how, but I did, and I've got the most extraordinary souvenir. And then I opened my little place, Les Quatre Saisons.
Which we'll absolutely get onto in a second. But actually, in my own head, I'm finding it quite incredible that you had a situation whereby you had been exiled from France, as it were, came to here and took a role, and actually with not monumental amounts of training, really, years and years and years and years behind you, that within a year you had a Michelin star.
Well, yes, when I opened my little Quatre Saisons, yes, in 1 year, so I opened 77, 79, first star Michelin, 81, 2-star Michelin.
Right. Yeah. And
19 and 21 Gourmet, European chef. There was lots of awards who came in. I was a young kid starting, and that was, I missed a mentor. And actually, there's a beautiful story after. I missed a mentor very much.
Right.
Because a mentor will guide you and will help you. That's why you go through apprenticeships. That's why, So yes, a mentor enriches you, train you, and prepare you, for bigger challenges, and give you the skill and confidence. So that's what a mentor does. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I started in 77, I remember, my God, how tough I was working 16, 18 hours a day, only 1 day of Sunday, and you are broken.
Yeah.
Completely shattered, and you look at the latest cut, and you look like a 40-year-old rather than a 26-year-old. Okay. But what was really interesting, that's where really I learned. It's not about getting 2-star Michelin in 3 years. And that was important because, of course, it gave me a number of things. Immediately I started, the first thing before that, something happened. Because I knew, because I was self-taught, I lacked some technique, some knowledge. And I was looking, so I bought all the books of science that I could put my hands on. Right? But all these books of science were written, of course, by scientists, so I didn't understand a word what they were talking about. But every year I would go to the symposium of Oxford, on gastronomy. And they have all the top scientists speaking at this. But there was no chefs, 0 chefs.
Right.
It was just scientists, 4 scientists. But I would always find a space to come and listen to these scientists in the hope I could find one day, because sometimes my souffle didn't quite rise as high, my puff pastry made leak. So I wanted to understand all the denaturation process, through wet heat, through steaming, through roasting, through pan frying, so etc. Our food changes, and you need science, and I need science. So I needed to understand, and eventually, after many years, I suddenly. So there was Maggie, there was all the great philosophers, there was the very young French biochemist. I'll give you his name later.
Yeah.
Okay. But there was one suddenly, but I couldn't understand what they were talking about. And suddenly one man took the chair and he spoke food science. It was Professor Kurti. And I could understand every word. Every word was resonating into me. And he was able to explain very complicated process and make the chemical process and make them simple. I was the happiest man on earth. And when he came down and said, "Sir, will you let me be your apprentice?" And he said, "Oh, Monsieur Blanc," because he had come in my restaurant, I didn't know.
Right.
"Oh, Monsieur Blanc, that's about 10 years I'm looking for a chef who is interested in chemistry."
Interesting. Right.
And this man was Professor Kurti. He created molecular gastronomy, and it changed my life.
Right.
He helped me enormously. So I embrace molecular. He created the word molecular. He coined the word molecular gastronomy. And the first thing, 3 months after, I was facing 40 chemists and biochemists and scientists in Hérisset. It was 1991. And, 81, I'm not sure. At Hérisset in Italy, okay, in Sicily, actually.
Mm.
And I was doing 3 demonstrations, one on bread and the yeast, explaining basically, and they were, and they were effectively one on a sabayon. I don't remember the other one. But sabayon, for example, for sabayon, it takes 3 egg yolk, hollandaise sauce. Fascinating.
Right.
Hollandaise sauce, sabayon. Okay, so hollandaise sauce, 3 egg yolk, 250 grams of butter, salt, pepper, lemon juice or vinegar. My hollandaise sauce was 3 egg yolk, 100 grams of water, 70 grams of water, and I warm up my sabayon, I coagulate my egg yolk, okay, and then add 50 grams of butter. So you had this lightness. I had 5 times more volumes, complete lightness with lemon juice, a dash of cayenne pepper to carry on the flavors a bit longer, and so everything was different. So I also learned about bread, what's happening when you make bread, the yeast, which fermented, helps with fermentation, okay, and it transforms itself, the acidic alcohol transforms in carbon dioxide, which creates a lifting power within bread, and it was amazing, and I was learning, so I did a TV program after. I wrote a book, which was called Blanc, which was the first book, one of the very first book of science. Nobody was doing molecular gastronomy at the time.
Yeah, no.
Nobody. But then I feel in a endangered place. I felt it was not right. For me, food is a complete ensemble of science, of provenance, of the wine, the person who serves you, or the paysan who creates these beautiful vegetables, or the butcher who just creates that meat, all of this, the glass maker, okay. Gastronomy is a complete ensemble. And science and nutrition, of course, are part of gastronomy, part of the food world.
Yeah.
So the question I was asking myself, how can you have this perfect ensemble destroyed by taking one part of it, which is science, and taking it outside of it? What you're creating here is fashion.
Ah, right.
And then I had Eston in my kitchen.
Yeah.
So I said, Eston, that's for you.
Right. And off you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he took enough Eston. He was made for it.
And God, he did take it, didn't he? Yeah.
But, and I stopped. But it has helped me enormously. And that's, of course, science is part. You need to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, but it shouldn't be, by putting it outside, you create something. Science is part of like nutrition, like the produce, like the craft of the chef, etc. is part of it, not separated from. But it helped me enormously to understand all the technique effectively and the processes
and why stuff
and
happens.
why and how and exactly. So it was yes, absolutely. So I learned to find the exact moment when the crème caramel, for example, to take something simple, is the best when the protein of the eggs just coagulate as a right and you let it 2 minutes extra, it's like too firm.
Yeah.
You want it just melting and wobbly and so on. So I learned all these things and I stopped molecular gastronomy, but still read a lot about food science, but it helped me. And actually I remember this wonderful old professor who used to pedal bicycle from Oxford, he said was 85, to Le Manoir 4 Saisons, and we had our own space where we do all our own trials, okay? And his word was very simple.
Laboratory.
Said, look, Raymond, what I don't understand, we know how to go to the moon, yet we don't know what's happening in our soufflés. And he helped me a lot. And he was my mentor.
I mean, when you put it like that, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and that is a very big moment in, because if you look at all the different, move in a different direction at the moment here, because if you look Carême cuisine, Escoffier cuisine, who was a very modern chef who codified food, amazing, not anymore, because food moves on. There was the movement of nouvelle cuisine. Okay, we are coming back now. Reconnecting with your farmer, with your fisherman, all natural produce, creativity, don't follow a recipe from something, create, okay, etc. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, and that's happening in people's houses, not just in restaurants as well. Like
absolutely.
And that's something that I got inspired by a regenerative farmer who did a talk on regenerative farming techniques.
Yeah.
And since then, that totally affects the meat and vegetables that I bring into my house. I no longer buy from supermarkets. I buy where I can direct from farmers who are doing the right thing with the land and all of that. It's such a major thing now, I think.
Yeah. So I think that's our values as well. I mean, I was the very first chef to create such a huge, not a little potager, but a huge garden, and for that from garden to plate, basically. That was done when I opened. And of course, so that story, so my story to finish it really, so we gained our 2-star Michelin, and then I started to dream, about a cottage or something like that. But one day on a Sunday morning, I saw this Manoir, country house magazine. And it did something to me. So immediately I took my car. It was just jump in my car, find out who owns the house, and went to Great Milton. Arriving at front of the gate, big gates, which were rusty.
Right.
I fell in love with the house. Completely, like you would fall in love with a woman.
Yeah.
Completely. And I just looked at it, and it was a grand but little entrance, or just 100 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, there was different gardens at different heights. There was this beautiful Yellowstone walls everywhere, different structures. It was beautiful. Then the Elizabethan chimneys, and I completely fell in love with it, and that was it. So then I didn't have the money.
Right.
I always remember, I'm going to cut this story short, but basically what I want to say to anyone young person who listen, be bold, dare. People cannot just say no. That's all.
Yeah.
Dream. Make that dream happen. Okay. And I knock at that big door, and that lady arrived, without appointment. And I thought it was a cleaner, and actually it was Lady Cromwell. So, she looked at me and said, "Good morning." And she said, "Who are you?" And I said, "No, what do you want?" "I want to buy your house." But it was on the country house, which was not a house for sale, privately, not for making it into a restaurant. I want to buy your house. But she said to me, but who are you? My name is Raymond Blanc. And she looked at me and she flashed all over red. She left me and she just was making some tea, and you could hear the cutlery. You can see the movement and the clinking of things. And she came out after with a bottle of milk, with a tin on the top of it, and the cups with the tea bags inside the mugs. And she said, yes, Monsieur Blanc, I will sell you my house for 3 reasons. The first, I came to your place with my 2 daughters and my husband. It was extraordinary. The kindness of your teams, beautiful food. And that was also the first time we were together as a family for a long time. It was an extraordinary celebration. Second reason, months after, my husband died.
Ah, bless.
Absolutely. And that was a big trauma. My husband died. So effectively, your place was the last place where we were as a family.
Oh, goodness. God, that's...
And the third reason, if I don't sell you my house, my manor, which my ancestors have earned for hundreds of years, it will be transformed into flats.
Right.
And that will kill me.
Yeah.
So, because of all of that, yes, I want to sell my house to you.
Wow.
And she helped me. She took Henri, her horse, and we went to see every habitant, okay, in the Great Milton. We knock at the door, say, introduce Monsieur Blanc, is going to buy my house, okay? You're going to welcome him, she was
right, yeah.
assertive
well known
woman,
in the area.
yes. Yeah. And then the morning after, I remember always knocking, phone my bank manager. I said, sir, I've got some news for you. I'm going to buy Great Milton Manor. And there was this silence. We never ended, where is he gone? And then eventually, after maybe a minute, he said to me, with what?
Well, I mean, that's a reasonable
of course,
question.
we were a young business. There was recessions after recessions.
Right.
There was 15% interest rate. There was strikes. One day you didn't have electricity. The next you didn't. So imagine to run a business like that. And I thought that's the best time to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And I knew it. And I told him, with me, I was 51% of anything I will buy. There was another silence. He said, maybe. And then something marvelous happened. I was lucky. Margaret Thatcher, which is not known to be the best angel, created a business expansion scheme which gives to every investor the ability to invest tax-free in new businesses, which will help England to reinvent itself.
Right.
So effectively, every investor, the pound that you invest is only worth to you 30 pence or 20 pence or even 10 pence. So, and all my customers invested.
Right.
Okay. And of course, after now, we know now.
So the original crowdfund
is part of Belmont, but part of Belmont and LVMH, which has bought Belmont just a couple of years ago. But this house, and they know it and they respect it enormously. And I have a huge, extraordinary relationship with Belmont and LVMH. And they know that emotionally, aesthetically, in so many ways, intellectually, and in terms of its future, there's ownership. They know it.
Yeah.
And there's a relationship, which is partnership, which is so beautiful. And so my job now is to prepare Le Manoir beyond me. And that's exciting.
Right.
That's really exciting. We are right in the middle of it. As you know, we've got our planning permission.
Yeah. No, indeed.
Which took 7 years. I did work 3 years at it on making some plans, concepts, and so.
Fantastic. I mean, there's so much to unpack with your story. There's a couple of things that really sprung to mind as you were talking away. Is one kind of going back to when you were cleaning glasses and cleaning in that restaurant. What came across to me was the pride that you were taking in your work. Do you think that originated? That's all comes back to the values that were in
childhood. Yeah, complete childhood. Yeah. Oh, definitely, love and hard work.
Yeah.
Okay, and respectful. You don't throw it away.
Yeah.
My mom would always reuse everything, so recycle everything. So yes, it's all my childhood. Food is an act of love. That seed, that little seed, is magical. It will grow into a beautiful leek, a beautiful spinach, beautiful carrot. And, that act of sharing the food around the table. And for me, I'm completely implicated in every design of every room, of every garden. So I create the dream in a way.
Yeah.
With an extraordinary team of amazing people.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what could I say? You realize that the team is everything. Team is everything.
Yeah.
Start, the beginning, and
bring
the
it
end.
alive if you don't.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You can't do it by yourself.
No, indeed. You can have the vision for sure. You did definitely have had a vision. That's for sure.
But there was a strong vision.
Yeah.
To carry that, and still is a strong vision.
Yeah. The other thing that I really loved was kind of going back to your school and not being especially academic.
No.
But actually look at how academic you've become in terms of just because you've found the subject that you care about. Yeah. Because all the way through your story there, you were talking about I went and read a book on this, I went and read a book on that, and you became a well-read individual on the subject matter that you care deeply about. And
very much so.
That's how you might not have been a chef who'd gone through the classic route of becoming who you've become, in terms of the years and years of training that you have to do in various different places. But you've kind of found your own path because you just care about what you're doing, and that leads you to go, well, I don't have the knowledge in that, so I want to go and learn about that, and then to find a mentor who wasn't even a chef, it wasn't even in the industry, as it were. Extraordinary people generally have extraordinary stories, and your story has not disappointed. That's for sure.
Thank you very much. One thing, maybe, which is important to say, the ability, and a self-taught person understood that his profession, l'hôtellerie, the restaurant business, the restaurant industry, was missing something big. His training. We're missing that big element. And here we've trained about 40 Michelin star chefs.
Yeah.
Hundreds of top craftsmen and women. We passed on knowledge. We've been generous, and that's the whole idea of being generous with your knowledge. Pass it on. So by passing it on, you enrich yourself in getting a better manager, have a better understanding of managing people. Yeah. You learn yourself, and you pass on knowledge, you enrich somebody else. Yeah. Who in turn, that person will enrich somebody else. Yeah. And that's the whole reason to keep the ideas for yourself. Share them. Yeah. That's the values we have here, and they are powerful, they're strong. That's why we've been such a powerful trainers in the industry, and we're renowned for that. Yeah. And we have every general is amazing, he or she. And we have a team which is very cohesive. Yeah. Who is really united towards the same pursuit, excellence.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I could sit here and talk to you all day, to be honest, but I'm eminently conscious that I've taken up a lot of your time, and I thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. If people are not taking inspiration from that, then I don't know what they will take inspiration from, but loads of lessons from your journey, and I can't wait to see the plans for the next phase of Le Manoir come to fruition.
Well, it's all happening.
I will have to come back.
Okay, and I wish every young person really... One thing I'm going to ask you, please be curious. Find somewhere inside you, your talent is somewhere. I can assure you it is there. So find it. It's worth it.
Yeah. Hallelujah. Fantastic.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you so much, Raymond.
Merci.
Bye-bye.
Belle journée.
And there we have it. I think we can all agree that Raymond's journey is nothing short of incredible. Again, a huge thank you to him for giving up his time. We'll be back on Friday as we serve up your dessert in our Le Manoir showcase with the absolutely sensational Blanc. It's another fantastic chat with another awe-inspiring personality. We'll see you then.